Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Master Cell, live from the AAMP.TV mobile studios here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's AAMP.TV. An important message for consumers, business owners, and managers for information on the best high-speed internet, satellite TV service, cell phone service, identity protection, home and business security and automation, and credit card processing, plus savings on electricity and gas bills. Contact 702-799-9935 for more information. 702-799-9935. That's for information on smart savings for homes and businesses. 702-799-9935, or check them out online at safelyspend.com. That's safelyspend.com. All right, and a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500, KHKA, also CBS Sports in sunny Southern California on KCAA 106.5, 102.3 FM, and 1050 AM. And a big hello to our friends down in Corpus Christi, cover the greater Houston market as well on KSIX 95.1, 96.1, and 1230 AM. And a big hello to our friends over in Boston, WBNW 1120 AM and 102.9 FM, and everybody else around the country, and those streaming at TheSportsCircus.com and watching on Hotel Television. Talk a little bit now of college football. Had a really good segment of hockey, the last couple of segments actually. Let's jump into a little college football. Now, there's always that ongoing issue between the Power Five and the Group of Five. So for all those that know, the Power Five, of course, being the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Southeast Conference. And then you've got the Group of Five, which another five conferences, including the AAC, which, of course, has Central Florida, Memphis, Cincinnati, and it has Temple as well, and a bunch of other schools, and also anyway, there's a whole bunch of other good conferences out there. They're grouped into this secondary group that don't really get the recognition that the Power Five conferences do. But now we may have a problem coming up. We may be seeing bye-bye to the bye games. Now that means the Group of Five could lose millions in Power Five school payouts. Now, just a couple of years ago, with this, there's a particular school, of course, with it facing the possibility of cutting staff and making a big shortfall in the state funding. Now, trustee Huskies of Northern Illinois University, their athletic director, had added a football game at Florida State to the Huskies schedule. Now, the road trip came in with a $1.6 million payout to Northern Illinois University. Now, their coach, Mr. Frazier, he says, Sean Frazier says, Florida State essentially saved people's jobs. And you know what? That's not the funny part, but the part of actually paying for the games is the funny part. So basically, Florida State essentially did save jobs. A big round of applause for something positive from Florida State University, which I'm okay with that. But at the same time, there are also some pieces of the puzzle that people happen to be missing about this, and this is where I'm going with it. Now, those guaranteed games or bye games are essentially, I mean, to many athletic departments that field Division I football teams have a smaller budget. Now, we take the budgets of the Ohio State University with their $100 million budget. That's the funny part. With their ridiculous budget, some of these other ones, Alabama has the same thing. Crazy budgets, right? And you say, wait a minute. Why are some schools allowed a bigger budget? Don't you think we need some kind of a balancing act with this budget? It's not really fair. But nonetheless, even before the whole pandemic spawned a financial crisis, and most Group of Five schools were using university funds and student fees to help pay for athletes. And when they're saying pay for athletes, not like the Ohio State University or the University of Michigan or Alabama or Texas, the University of Texas at Austin, which seems to somehow, and Oklahoma, we can't forget them, and Clemson, right? Or USC. We can't forget the schools that have this convenient money flow that goes directly to a football program or something to something of the sort. Now, this season, 39 major college football programs have scheduled 49 bye games worth $65 million. Now, if this alleged pandemic disrupts or causes the Power 5 teams to play more or only conference games, better yet, it could leave huge holes in athletic budgets of the schools already stretched thin. I mean, this is a real issue, folks. The largest payouts for one game, a one-game deal this coming season, is Auburn is paying the University of Massachusetts $1.9 million. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you look at some of these Southeast Conference schools, you say, well, hey, they play Cupcake City, and here we go. And we've had this conversation with Eli the Dream Crusher, who is a big proponent of Southeast Conference football. Well, the fact is, if Auburn, for example, is paying $1.9 million to Massachusetts, and then you say, well, I don't know, maybe LSU is paying Northeast, Southwest, XYZ State University another $1.5 million just to padding up the wins. And what are we talking about? Now, UMass has a $10 million budget for football overall. The Auburn game, scheduled for late November, is really basically 20% of that entire budget. So what if you take that Auburn game out of the University of Massachusetts and you say, well, guess what? Now your budget is $8 million instead of $10 million. Now that affects a lot of the players. It affects the way teams travel. It affects a lot of the things that happen within the athletic departments. And let's face it, if the wealthy Power 5 conferences, which we had already alluded to, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, and SEC, if they close rank, the group of 5 schools will be out millions of dollars. So let's go to New Mexico State. Their athletic director, Mario Mochia, also leads an independent football program, but the situation has no similarities to Notre Dame, of course, which, of course, they're independent in football, but yet they're in the ACC in basketball. Another story for another time. Now, New Mexico State is scheduled to make $2.75 million for road trip games to UCLA and the University of Florida. There it is again, another cupcake for the Southeast Conference. But we're talking nearly $3 million that New Mexico State is actually scheduled to make. But, quote, there is no modeling or ability to cut that and could make up for that. Those revenues are going to be lost, and they're critical to our entire operation, says Mochia from the Las Cruces Sun-Times. Now, Kent State, another one from the Mid-American Conference, has 3 guaranteed games this season with Alabama, cupcake, Kentucky, cupcake, and Penn State, worth about $5 million. So the bigger question lies, are these group of 5 schools really going to be the big losers in this? Or is it the Power 5 schools are going to be forced to play no cupcakes? And, of course, we're focusing on the Southeast Conference. Are they going to be forced to be playing basically their own division instead of loading up with 3, 4, 5 teams that they're not very good? I guess that's the burning question. Now, here's something interesting. This actually applies to the SEC, but it doesn't. Now, 4 of the FCS teams ineligible for the 2020 postseason, we have an ongoing issue here. This is by Stats Perform. Now, 4 programs are ineligible for the postseason after receiving NCAA academic progress sanctions on Tuesday. Now, Southland Conference members, McNeese and Stephen F. Austin, Howard from the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, and Prairie View A&M from the Southwest, that would be the SWAC, fell below necessary 930 APR scores on a scale of 1,000. The scores measure the classroom performance of a team over a 4-year stretch. In this case, 2015 to 16 through 18 and 19 academic years. Now, the 4 teams will have 4 practice hours adjusted to academic activities each week. In addition, Howard will not be allowed to have spring practice next year. That's ridiculous. Now, this APR, the penalties were levied on 21 teams from various sports at 13 Division I schools, including 15 that received postseason eligibility. Any penalized school may request a waiver from some or all of the penalty elements. Waivers are overseen by the NCAA committee. Now, by the way, that academic progress rate explained is the APR, or academic progress rate, holds institutions accountable for academic progress of their student athletes through a team-based metric that accounts for eligibility and retention of each student athlete for each academic term. Now, each student athlete receives an athletically related financial aid earnings 1 point for staying in school and 1 point for being academically eligible. Now, a team's total points are divided by the team's possible points, then multiplied by 1,000 to equal their APR. In addition to the team's current year APR, its rolling 4-year program is used. I just want to know, how do they calculate this for the Southeast Conference? How do they calculate that for the Big 12? How do they calculate it for the other Power 5 conferences? I mean, some of them are more academically inclined, but we have an ongoing issue here where they're singling out the historical black colleges and universities, and they're not singling out some of these questionable programs in the Southeast Conference. I think that's absolutely wrong, and we're going to talk a little bit about that with Tyrone Poole tomorrow, because he, of course, went to which one did he go to? It was Fort Valley State. And so he went to a historical black college and university, and I'm very curious to find out what his input is on this, because to me it seems absolutely discriminatory, and I'd like to know why some of these Power Fives, like the LSUs, the Bamas, the Ohio States, the Oak States, the USCs, how come they are not given the same probation? That's what I want to know. I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to be back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.